Hello, everybody. My name's Enrique, and this is
Linda.
and honey. Let's
Do a podcast.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Honey Let's Do a Podcast. Today's our official first episode in the podcast, and we're going to kick it up starting with a 3-part series on parenting. Now, part 1 of this series is going to be on our challenges getting pregnant, or you can call it our infertility issues. It wasn't for us as simple as just let's have sex and get it over with. It was a lot more difficult than that, and we learned that the hard way. I know there's a lot of people out there that are having go through these things or are having these challenges when they're trying to start a family. A lot of our listeners out there, probably you can relate to this, or you probably met somebody in your life that has gone through this before, and this is actually sounds really familiar to you. So I think a lot of what we learned from it and what were challenges that happened that we had to kind of like navigate through them and stuff. I think that that's going to be a lot beneficial for you guys, as if you guys are just going through this or you went through this and you might feel connected to what we're talking about, or you know somebody who's going through this. These are information that you can give them just from another person who went through it, in this case, us. And it's information we can give you guys. You want to talk? You want to say something about this, Linda? Because I know mainly, obviously, it affected both of us, but I know you got the hard part of the stick here.
Yes. It was quite hard for me. It's kind of difficult to explain, but when you're going through it, you don't think might be a problem. But in my case, particularly, there were some issues even before we even started. Because I only have one ovary before we even started trying to conceive. So I was out of the bat.
And I think, I'm sorry to cut you up, but I think you can explain to the listeners the reason for that was
I had a cyst.
yeah, so
I
exactly.
had a
So-
huge cyst, and they had to remove the whole ovary. And that happened years before we even decided that we wanted to expand our family.
and the doctor, remember that the doctor said that this shouldn't be any issue for us getting pregnant.
Back
because
in the
I
days.
know you asked him
Yes.
right
That was a
then and
concern.
then. You asked him, hey, because we do want to start a family in the future. We have talked about it. Is this going to be an issue going forward? Are we going to be able to, because that was one of your worries. I remember
Yeah.
at that point.
And for some of you, that might not be the case, but there are the process we did. I'm very happy with how it turned out. It was not as expensive as you might think. So hear us and listen to our experience, because you might find that you think that, oh, you don't have options. You might not be able to have kids. And if you listen to us, you might realize, yes, I might actually have a good chance to
And that's
have.
actually one of the things my wife went through a little bit. She had a little bit of the depression at one point because she thought she wasn't going to be able to have kids, because
Yeah.
she thought the only way we could was to the in-vitro or IVF. And that was extremely expensive when we talked to the doctor about it. And we're like, damn, we don't really want to pay 20 or 30,000 just for one try. And it's not even, because that's it. I think it was, didn't it say it was like 20% or
yeah.
10% chance of success rate? Like it's not even a high.
It was
might
a
be
low
higher. I
percent.
might be. I'll probably give you the exact stat at the end, but I know it wasn't that big of a number, and I remember that paying all this money, and it's not a sure thing. It's like, I don't know, like we're not millionaires either, so it's like, and I know that's why a lot of people who their only choice is in vitro end up not having kids or end up using, which again
Adopting
we
kids.
also thought about the adoption, and actually, to be honest, we thought adopting would have been great. I think for anybody who thinks out there, that was,
Yeah, we
that
have
would have been a
friends,
beautiful experience for
family.
us. We would have loved to adopt. And actually, that would have been one of the options we could have gone through if at the end, our whatever our pathway wouldn't have been successful. That would have been maybe an option we would have pursued. So we did talk about it, but I feel like some people who maybe don't want to adopt, right? Because they want to have their own blood, flesh and blood baby or whatever. They think, oh, our only option is in vitro. We don't have the resources or the economic, we don't have the financial stability to do an in vitro, and they feel like, oh, it's over. I mean, we can't have kids.
Yeah, and that's what
It's
most.
done, and they get frustrated and all this stuff, right?
Yeah, and I have a few friends that they have been trying and they have not been successful, and they go with that route. Oh, we are not going to be able to have kids. Just get married with that option, but they don't really do the due diligence, I will say, to go that extra little mile. And if they really, really want to have kids on their own, there are really options out there. You just need to go and find them. Also, something that was very helpful for us was that we try 2 fertility facilities. So the first one, am I allowed to say which one is?
I mean, I don't see why.
It was Texas Fertility Institute. So
By the way, just for our viewers out there, we do live in Houston, Texas, so that's why most of the names we would say are
are
places in
related
Texas.
to, yeah.
But we do live in Houston, Texas, so that's where our whatever we talked about is going to be in this location.
Yes. So the first one we did was Texas Fertility Institute, and the process was very. I felt like a number. To be honest, I'm not gonna lie to you. I felt like I was just another number, and the way that they gave me the service, because this is at this point some kind of service. I wouldn't say I was very happy. It took very long from one appointment to the other one, like 2 months, and I was just really not impressed by it. Also, they what was the name of the? I actually wrote it here.
Of what?
They did one of the tests was on the Texas fertility.
Wasn't that the test of the hystereoscopy?
No, the
The hysterosonography.
Yeah.
Which is the one where they put a, just so for you guys know out there, this is the one that they put a catheter inside your vagina, and they inject salt water into your uterus, and then it expands the uterus, and then they have a clearer ultrasound. And this is for, what is it that they were looking with these things?
So they were looking if there was a clear a path from the egg to pass and get all the way to the uterus. And what they found was, well, first they didn't put any anesthesia, they didn't put anything, so it did hurt quite a lot. So I'm not sure if they did it right. So that's what I'm going. And also when they did it, the side that I don't have an ovary, it flushed, it went perfectly well, but the side that I do have an ovary was blocked. It was not, the liquid fluid didn't pass through that side of the canal or the fallopian tube, let's call it that. So that was an issue because the side that I do have an ovary, apparently it was blocked, and at that point all of my options were closed, and I was pretty much not going to be able to get pregnant naturally.
So basically, what from what I understood, because obviously she explained all this to me, was that she only had one ovary, and the fallopian tube from that ovary, right?
Mm-hmm.
That was apparently clogged, or there was no liquid going through the little when they did the
Exactly.
the
that
procedure.
side was closed.
And then so we were like,
ovary.
ooh, so it's closed, so it's blocked or whatever. So did they tell you that they have to do like a surgery or something,
Yes.
or what was it?
They said that they can do a surgery to open that tube, or they wanted to try to move the other fallopian tube to the other side. But that, let me just tell you, a fallopian tube is like a piece of string from the clothes. It's very, very thin. Doing a surgery to that level is just very risky. And when I mentioned to other people, they were like, "What? Did they do that?" And it sounds weird.
I don't even think that's possible, right?
Yeah. And actually, the other doctor said, that doesn't sound good.
Yeah, but I think he actually said it. Like,
Yeah, he did say
anyway.
that. Anyway, we went to that doctor, and so we didn't have the best. My experience, I wouldn't say it was the best, and had to wait a long time. Everything was like too much, and I was not feeling very well. In fact, I cried multiple times during the process, and then Enrique teaches.
So I have a kid. For this, I won't say the names because but I don't. These are clients of mine. I don't want to give away the information. But I'm a tennis coach. I said it before in our introductory episode, and I have a kid I teach. I've been teaching for a while. Their parents are I'm pretty good friends with the parents and stuff. And I didn't know this, but the dad was a fertility doctor. And I know the family, so I've been talking around. I've been telling them what we're going through, and our situation, and the place that Linda's going, and all this stuff. And then the wife tells me, "Hey, you do know my husband is a fertility doctor." And I'm like, "Really? No, I didn't know that." And then they're like, "Yeah." And then I'm like, "Well, listen, we're having all this issue. Maybe we should just go to his clinic or something, and maybe they can evaluate us there." So we ended up doing that, and then maybe maybe you can just finish now the other part of the story.
Yeah. So once we started going to the second facility, which is the Houston Fertility Institute, I think, it's just very different. I think that's the name, to be honest. Don't quote me. So the process, the care in the facility was so much better. The people were nicer, kinder. The process was a lot faster, and I work. So my time is very important. I don't want to be sitting there for a long time because I have things to do. So the fact that they were able to do everything before my time to start work, it was great because I was able to make it to fit it within my agenda, my daily agenda. So they did a few more tests, and I think they did a few more for Enrique, and they gathered all the data from the old facility and the new
Yes.
facility.
So for me, the test was your typical, and this is guys. Listen, in this episode, I won't be talking as much because it's mostly. Let's be honest, guys. It's mostly the woman's side who goes through most of these hurdles. But the test that they'll do, if let's say if there's a guys out there and you're having issues, the test that they'll run of you is like you see in the movies. They're just gonna get a sperm count. Okay, they're gonna see how your sperm count is. If you have a high sperm count, how much you have, and apparently I was good in all those standards that they were looking for. I was good in those, okay, and the counts and the quantity and all that stuff. So I wasn't the issue in terms according to them. So that was basically the only thing based
They
on
can
the
test on
guy.
them.
The only thing that me, the male, had to make sure that I was fine. That's it. But from my end, everything else is the woman's end. That's why this is mostly, it's mostly going to be Linda giving her experience.
So when they did run all of the tests, they did mention that there might be a possibility that the test run in the other facility might be done wrong, and that he wanted to do something different. And what's the name of that one? The cystoscopy, I think.
Hystereoscopy.
Hysteroscopy. So
So that's again, this is just a little bit of information for our viewers out there. That's when they put like it's like a little telescope they put through the vagina. Then they're gonna check over there and go into your uterus. And then what they do is that they see if there's polyps, and if there are polyps, they can remove it. So it's basically just to take a look at the uterus. It's like a little, like I said, like a little camera, little telescope. They go in there, and then they check, and if there's anything wrong, any polyps or whatever, they can remove them.
yeah, but in that particular treatment, they were going to see if they could open the fallopian tube. That was the
Oh.
original plan.
Right, because the other place
'Cause
told you that it
there-
was closed.
Yeah, because there were
Yeah.
nothing showing up in any CT scan or any sonogram. There were no polyps or anything showing. So when he did what's the name again?
Hysteroscopy.
The hysteroscopy, he didn't found any problems in the fallopian tube. The fallopian tube was completely open.
And this is actually a funny story, guys, because we're ringing. I know these people. So I remember I was in the my wife. They took her up. They took her in for the small little procedure. What they had to sedate her. I think you had full anesthesia, right?
Full anesthesia.
Yeah. So they had to completely sedate her for this. And I was in the waiting room, in the lobby room, whatever you want to call it. And as soon as they're doing it, the doctor texts me literally as they're doing it. He texts me like, I don't know, 5 minutes afterwards or something. We're clear. Fallopian tubes is clear. And he gives me a thumbs up. And I'm like, okay. So that's what she's saying that. So we found out that same thing. So apparently when they checked, they were clear. The fallopian tube was clear. So that wasn't going to be an issue.
So, and just going back, the other facility told me that it was closed. So that just, you have to take it with a grain of salt, this information or the procedure. You need to know how good are the different doctor. You have to do your research, I guess. And in our case, we were very lucky. They were clients of my husband and they were very good at the same time. So that's great. But on the other hand, they did found the fallopian tube open, great, but they found very tiny polyps. They did find 3 of them, and because the procedure, the way it was with the way that procedure works, they were able to remove all of the polyps that they found. So I have a little bit of pain at the end. But I was very sedated, so I couldn't remember much. But I do remember, I think we recorded that I was very, very, very happy after the procedure when I woke up. So that was the process for those 2. We had to do those 2 procedures. Then after that, the doctor did mention that after that procedure, the chances of getting pregnant naturally are very high. And we were already...
Yes. So just to piggyback on what she's saying, what he said is basically we should try
Yes.
after the procedure, like within 2 weeks. Was it like he said that like basically the next 2 weeks after they do that particular procedure, again, it's a hystereoscopy. Basically, it improves your chances getting pregnant, obviously even more so that they remove the polyps, right? But basically it's like you have a little window where your probability is a little higher.
Yes. And then during that next month, he mentioned that once I get my period, I had to let him know immediately because we were going to start trying ovulation induction, I think it's called.
Yes.
And we were going to do Clomid specifically.
That's like a pill, right? You take oral,
it's
like
a
an
pill.
oral pill.
Yes.
And that helps with what? With like
Promotes the ovulation.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
so basically, guys, just so you go, there's actually 3 procedures or 3 ways I know if you're having issues with getting pregnant. One's what my wife just said, which is ovulation induction.
Mm-hmm.
And the other one's when they do insemination right at the uterus. So they go and they put the sperm right there. They grab your sperm. They directly put it right where the egg is, right? And then the last one is the in vitro, which is what a lot of people know, which is when they take your egg and they put it like a little container outside. So they remove your egg. They grab one of your eggs. And then they grab a sperm, and then they, in a contained environment, so basically it's more like it's not natural, right? It's just
they make sure to fecundate.
Yeah, and they make sure and then they have it all in a little place where it's secure and it's all checked and all this stuff. And then when it does happen, then they put it back in the uterus.
Yes,
so that's what normally in vitro would be, but that's the most expensive one. Obviously.
Yeah. So there are different levels and there are different price range for all of them. And even before those treatments, there are some procedures that you can do to try if those works. And those are also less expensive. So there are different ways that you can, if you're really looking to get pregnant because you want to have your own blood and flesh, or whatever reason you want, and you're having issues,
Oh, I just want to start a family.
yeah, you want to
it's
start a
just that's
family and you're having issues.
like we did.
Actually, we were doing a little bit of research and we found out that 1 in 5 women have problems with getting pregnant in the first place during the first year alone. So just getting pregnant in 1 full year,
That's a
one
lot.
in 5 females have
Like
problems.
20%.
Yes, that's a huge number.
And also, and this has nothing to do with the problem, but it's also like something that can happen, which is when we were looking for that information, it's actually a pretty interesting fact because I wasn't even aware of this, but apparently 10 to 15 out of 100, so that's like 10 to 15%
Mhm.
have miscarriages. Do you know that?
Well,
That's
I do
crazy.
know that
That's a
because I
crazy
have a lot of
stat.
friends that
No,
they
but I'm just
have.
saying, for me, that's a crazy stat because I thought that would be lower, but actually 10 to 15%, it's a pretty high number.
It's a big number. Yeah.
And we actually, when we actually ended up getting pregnant, I think one of the things we had at our
Yeah,
you
but
know,
I'll get there. I'll get there.
okay, but you know what I'm going to talk about,
Yes,
right?
I know
Okay.
what you're
Okay.
going to talk about.
Okay, so yeah, just keep going then.
So, obviously, because he mentioned that we have that window, and we were going to do the Clomid right after, like right the next month. As soon as I get my first period, we were going to start Clomid. So I am very organized, so I track my period. And I have here the one that I use to track my period and to track ovulation, to track everything. There are this little tests that you can buy on Amazon. The brand is Pre-Mom. It comes with an app. It's a free app, and it has a lot of tests. Some tests are for ovulation, and there are other tests that are for testing if you're pregnant or not. So I would do these tests when I'm close to my ovulation time to check when is the peak time. So when is the peak time? That's really when you want to have, your intimacy with your partner, and to make sure that the egg is fecundated. So I did this test for a very long time, but during that month, I was extremely picky, making sure that I was doing tests, especially during that little window when I knew that the ovulation was very close. I was doing it like over almost 2 hours to make sure that the window was the right one. And then that's pretty much how we got pregnant.
Literally, as soon as we tried again after that procedure, it was a ding 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 ding
Yeah,
ding.
that was the
It
winner.
happened.
That was
Because
the winner.
literally, I mean, I don't know. I mean, because we might have did we try? We probably tried more than one.
We
But I'm just
tried.
saying that she never got another period after that. I mean, it just that's what I mean. It was like I literally called the doctor and I said, "Man, this was like what? I mean, it's like voodoo or like a magic or so. What happened here? Like literally, we couldn't for the life of us, we couldn't, and all of a sudden, we never saw. She never saw another period
Yeah.
for like the
After
next
the
12
baby.
months. So because after you had the baby, then you have another. You don't have it for like
You
another.
don't have it for like 6 months. I didn't
Oh,
have
so
it for
then
6
so
months.
basically you didn't have it
after.
for like almost then 16 or 18 months or something.
I don't know, something
Anyway,
like that.
it's a long time. But yeah, so that was that. It was pretty interesting because it literally happened just like that.
Right away, because we were going to start Clomid, and I never got to try Clomid.
No,
so
you never
that's
did
great.
because I mean you never got another period. I mean,
And also, I
just-
was a little bit skeptical with Clomid because I did my research, and Clomid, if you take Clomid, you might get more than one. And I already have a lot of family
Family, like a
members
family.
that have twins. So I was already very scared to try Clomid in the first place because the chances might get even higher. And I already have really high percent because I have family from both sides that are twins. So yeah, that's that. Then another thing that happened is that after we got pregnant naturally, which was great, because I only have one ovary, I was not producing enough hormones.
Yep.
So that was a huge issue. And let me explain why this is important.
So the hormone, I believe that it was estrogen, right? The one that you were
Estrogen
like,
was the one that was low.
and basically, guys, so estrogen is the one that helps grow and maintain the lining. I think it's the endometrial lining or something like that. So it basically helps sustain the pregnancy. So if your estrogen goes low, you have a higher risk of losing or having a miscarriage, or
Yes.
you kind of know. So it kind of was also lucky for us that we were doing all this through a fertility institute, because let's say we would have done it without a fertility institute. So just so you
The
know, guys,
regular way.
when you go to one of these facilities like a fertility or whatever, normally in a normal scenario, your wife gets pregnant, or your significant other gets pregnant, and what happens is that you go to your the lady doctor. What's he called again? The what's that?
OB-GYN.
The OBGYN, whatever. Was that okay? So you go to the lady doctor, and she goes and checks you, and like, oh yeah, she runs some blood work, run this with that. Oh yeah, look, you are pregnant. These hormones went up. It's positive. You're good. You're pregnant. Okay, so what's the next step? Okay, they'll see me in like how many weeks?
Well, we.
No, wait. But I think she sees you
Oh,
again.
no. 19 weeks or
No,
something
but
like
she
that.
sees you quick. I think like 2 or 3 weeks after that for us, the first ultrasound. I think.
Maybe.
I think so.
Okay.
But I know it's one, and then you don't see her for a while. So until you get to like your last, I think your last trimester. In the last trimester, I think you see her more often. I'm talking about when you're not in any facility. This is when you're just, you're normal. It happened. You got pregnant, and you just go to OBGYN or whatever, and this is it. So at the beginning, you're not seeing your doctor that frequently.
So they
Okay,
cannot catch.
so they cannot know if your estrogens are low or whatever, because they're not checking you constantly or regularly. However, we got lucky, because when you go to one of these facilities like a fertility institute or something, you're basically seeing every 2 weeks or every week or every 2 weeks, something like that.
No.
I think it was every week, right?
Every other day.
Really?
Yes.
I thought. Oh, then it got bumped down to.
I had to go
Okay.
every other day, and they will do blood work. And so they will just take some blood, and I have very fine veins, so they had to do it in my hands. And so they did take blood work, and because it's every other day, they are
Monitoring.
they monitor very closely your hormone levels and how they are growing and what is the standard, and that's how they are able to know if your levels are better or not. They are not raising enough, and there is something going on. Because I only have one ovary, the chances are higher of having low hormone levels. So they were able to catch it on time, and they gave me pretty much like medications to what's
Yeah, you get an estrogen. I think it was a pill that.
yeah, it's called estradiol. I still have it, and that's what they gave. They gave me that medication, and I have to take it. Let me see here, 3 times a day. So I will take it 3 times a day for the whole since the moment they gave.
But I
them
think
to
I
me.
think I think it was basically only the first trimester,
Only
right?
the first
Because
trimester.
I think after that, the pregnancy really gets strong.
Yes.
So your chances of miscarriage really go down a lot. You have a lot more chances on your first trimester to have any complications or a miscarriage or complications in the pregnancy. After that, they drop significantly lower on your second trimester, and they drop even more on your third trimester. So that's why a lot of people you hear, and a lot of people or might know, just don't say anything until they reach their second trimester,
Yes.
because they, let's say you go and you say, hey, yeah, we're pregnant, and you tell it to everybody, and then all of a sudden you lost it.
Yeah.
And then apart
And
from
how do you
having
say
to
that?
deal with all the pain and suffering yourself, then everybody's going to be asking you, hey, how's the pregnancy going? Hey, how you guys doing? And then all of a sudden you're like, yeah,
We lost it.
yeah, we lost
Yeah.
it.
In fact, we
So
did
it's even
that.
worse.
We did that. We didn't mention to the public.
No, we just mentioned it to our family and close people, our
Very
family,
close.
but we didn't put it in social media. We didn't do anything. We didn't want to, because we didn't want to deal with something happen with the situation where everybody asking you about it, which is what's just going to happen. It's just natural.
And we already were dealing with so many things before we even got pregnant that it was just we just didn't want it to add more troubles to our story. We just wanted to make it as smooth as possible with the situation. We were just dealing with the situation and try to make it work. And that's exactly what we did. So after that, after we finished that first trimester, then everything was smooth.
Yeah, it was smooth sailing from there.
Yeah, it was just like a regular
Yeah.
process after that point. Once, because they when you are in fertility, they keep you in fertility treatments or they keep monitoring you during that whole first trimester. That once you move to the second trimester, they call it graduation, and
And that's when you
and
go
that's
to your regular.
oh
Yeah, I always struggle with this name. That's why I always say the lady doctor, because the lady doctor, because I know it's OBGYN or something like
I
that.
call it OB-GYN, but
Well, yeah, I mean, you can call it. Listen, the correct name is out there. I'm pretty sure it's OBGYN or OBG or whatever.
we're not doctors.
But I'll just call it
So
the lady doctor, okay? It's like you have the guy doctor or you have the lady doctor. Let's just call it like that. Well, that's the way I call it. But anyway, as soon as you get past your first trimester, you get a graduation. They gave you like this little bag with all this little stuff for the pregnancy and extra whatever, and then they just send you off.
Yep.
And you got to give her the name of your doctor, and then they just give all this information. They transfer it to their office, and boom, you just continue with them in the normal pace that everybody else would. So basically, this is mostly you're going to be using this treatment or this fertility institutes mostly for your first trimester. Once you get past that, like I said, the chances of complications go down significantly. So they're just gonna you don't need them anymore. So that you just don't need to keep going there unless obviously they see that something's going on or something's wrong. When maybe maybe they don't graduate you. Let's put it like that. So maybe you still have to do other stuff.
but with fertility, I mean, the chances to losing the baby are very, very slim because they are really on top of you.
And obviously it's more expensive because you have to see them more often. And obviously, guys, every visit is ka-ching ka-ching. You're gonna have some money that you have to spend. It's just normal. So obviously you're gonna have to spend more money. But for peace of mind, and it's specifically if you're having issues, think about it, guys. Let's be real for a second here. If you're having issues getting pregnant, let's say you've been trying for a year, you've been trying for 2 years, you've lost all hope. All of a sudden, this miracle happens and you do get pregnant. You obviously want to do your best to not have any issues with it.
Yes.
So if you have to pay a little more, it's worth it than just not doing it, trying to be a little more, lose or spend less money, and then you have this issue. Obviously, I'm not talking about if you're financially not capable to support it. If you can't do it, that's a different ball game, okay? Because you guys have to do whatever you're financially capable of doing. You're not going to be doing something out there that you just can't do because it'll ruin everything else. Okay? But if you're capable of paying it and you're capable of supporting this extra spending or whatever, it's worth it. Trust me, because they do check every time. It's like being held by your hand. Like somebody's holding you by
Yes.
your hand as you go through this. So it's really, 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 you feel a lot. I know my wife felt a lot
I
more like
felt a lot of
secure and a lot more
security.
like
Yes.
less stressed out because she felt like
Yes.
if something happens, they'll know. They'll know, and we can assess it.
Yes.
Which is kind of what happened with the pill, right? Because she, one day everything was going fine with the hormones, and then I think one day
It started going down.
no, I don't know if it didn't go down. It just
No,
didn't keep going up.
it was starting to decrease, and the next visit it was just on the border number, and
Exactly.
that's when he was like,
And
okay, I'm
that's
gonna
when he's
give
like,
you
okay, let's
this.
give you the pill. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So it'll help. And then after the pill, it got boosted up again
Mm-hmm.
and you got normal. And then, yeah.
And just to give you a heads up, if I wouldn't take the pills, I probably would have lost my baby. And man, I'm very grateful that we did it the way we did it, and because I have a beautiful daughter and I
And her
love
name
her,
is Victoria.
Victoria
Victoria
Sophia.
Sophia. And yeah, like my wife said, it went smooth sailing ever since then. Second trimester, third trimester, everything went fine. And until we reach the birth. And that's another interesting story. But I think we're not touching that one today, right? No, because that's going to be in part 2. But is there anything else you want to talk about before, we kind of wrap this up? Is there anything else you want to talk about this, or all this, what we went through and all these situations, maybe for our listeners? I don't know. I think we covered a lot of it, but I don't know if maybe there's any
Well,
extra
there is
information.
an aspect that we have not talked about, and is the emotional aspect. For females, is a very lonely path. I didn't want to talk about it with nobody, so what I would do to get those feelings out is that I will record myself, and that's how I took out those feelings. But the emotion, especially when they give you many bad news, and that in my case, all of those bad news happened on the first facility. It was, I felt hopeless. I felt like my basic function of reproduction, I was not able to fulfill it. So you do feel like your body is not working well and you don't work well or something like that. That
So
actually do
basically,
cross your mind.
in colloquial terms, what she's trying to say is you feel like a failure. I
Yes.
know she doesn't want to say it, and I know
Yes, no, that's
this is kind of
exactly. I
hard. It's kind of hard to say it, and it's kind of it can be mean, but that's basically what she's saying, that she feels like a
I
failure.
I actually did said that word in one of my recordings because that's exactly how I felt. That's the part that is the hardest during this process. It's not the money, it's not all of the visits that you have to give the doctor, is the emotional aspect. How are you able to handle? Most of the time you don't want to talk these things with your husband because he's also dealing with some issues, and you already feel like you're the failure, and he wants the kid, he wants the baby of his own blood, so you don't want to tell those things to him, but you don't want to tell these things to anybody, honestly.
And the only thing I can say in regards to the male's perspective here is that please, guys, be a little bit don't be dickheads, don't be assholes. Sometimes we act like like we want this. This is it, and if it doesn't happen, a lot of guys out there, and I know
They
I'm not talking
leave.
about 100% of you guys, but I am talking about a lot of people out there, males, blame it on their wife or blame it on their significant others. Like, we can't have a kid. What's wrong with you? Whatever, they just act like assholes. Now, they're already going through a lot. Like she said, she felt like a failure. She felt like her body that wasn't working correctly, yada, yada, yada. They're already going through a lot. They don't need your assholeness to go at them, okay? You guys need to treat her nice. You guys need to understand the situation. Put yourself in their shoes, okay? Imagine you were the woman, okay? That's what you got to do. And I like I always told my wife this from the start. I obviously I wanted a kid, right? I cannot deny that. But if it didn't happen, I wasn't, I was like, this is okay. Don't worry about it. Like it's fine. We can keep trying. We can try a different method. If we can't pay the one that's why we started looking at all the options with adopting, because I was fine. I wasn't, if that's our case, that's our case, and we can't do anything about it. That's what God gave us. Well, that's fine. Like it is what it is. Uh, but just please, for the guys out there, be a little bit, just be sensitive. Just
Empathy, have
yeah,
empathy.
like just what she says, I feel like if a lot of women were in the situation that my wife was, they'll feel this way or similar to this way. So they need the partner to be really supportive of them, not to alienate or not to, kind of separate a little bit or get frustrated with the situation.
Or accuse her.
Just support them. That's basically it. Just be part of it, and then just like, hey, listen, give her positive reinforcement, all this stuff, and just try to build her up. Not keep throwing her down more.
And I think the main reason why I felt such a failure, and I have to throw this. My husband wanted to have a kid since we met.
Yeah.
He has always been very vocal about having a family, and I was the one that I keep pushing and pushing
Because my wife wasn't really that fond of kids. Let's be honest.
No, I'm not. To the exception of my daughter, I'm still not fond of many
Well,
kids.
you've gotten a little better about it, though. No, but you've gotten better about it, because I've seen her now in the daycare and interacting with other kids, and she's gotten way better.
Yeah,
Because
I would not do
before,
that before.
a kid would be screaming,
We'll
and
go
she
the
would
other
go
way.
like, "Okay, we
I
need
will
to
just
leave.
disappear. Yes.
Yeah, we need to leave. We need to get out of the store. We need to." She was one of those.
Yes.
Okay, so guess how hard it was for me to try to convince her. This has been a challenge for me
Yeah.
to try to convince her to have a kid.
So it took him technically 10 years to convince me to have kids. And the main reason why didn't want to have kids is because I wanted to finish my career first. So I finished my career. I didn't have many excuses to give him to keep extending me getting pregnant and giving him a family or expanding our family. So when the time came and I was not able to get pregnant, can you imagine how I was feeling at that point? I failed to my husband that has been trying to convince me to get pregnant for the last 10 years. That's a lot of time.
Yeah, so we're both, for a little context here, we're both 36. Well, my wife turns 36 this month, but she's 35 still. I'm 36. So basically, since we were like 26, mid-20s, let's put it like that, mid-20s.
Yeah. So yeah, that's just, I will say that give enough information for today's episode.
So you think that wraps it up?
Yes, for sure. Because
Okay,
it's a long, this is
Yeah,
a
this
long
has been a long
episode.
conversation already, but basically, that's kind of like what we wanted to talk about, the first part, which was just like what we talked through, which is basically our issues or our complications in getting pregnant. The way what we had to do, our infertility issues, and all this stuff. Okay, I think in total, it took us. It wasn't as bad as other people we know, but it took us around 6 to 7 months to get pregnant. And if you go to the numbers out there, this is probably pretty reasonable for a lot of people to take this long. So you might feel like, oh, why are they talking about infertility? But it's because the context we gave you. Because if we would have just kept trying, it wasn't going to happen. It could have taken us 2 years. Okay. The reason is we acted quickly. We went and checked what was going on.
Mm-hmm. We
went
were
and
proactive.
we got checked basically. And this is a little bit of a little nugget of information for everybody out there. If you're trying to get pregnant, I would suggest the guy go get a sperm counter or go get checked, just to know everything's good in your end, and the woman go get checked. Maybe do that hystereosonography, and which is just like I said, like getting a little liquid. They check everything's in the uterus fine, whatever, and then that's fine. And then go try.
Yeah.
That doesn't take, but it's
That's not
just
gonna
it's just a
cost
little
much.
safety for you to know that everything's working fine and everything is okay. And then if you can't get pregnant, if you keep trying and it doesn't get pregnant, then you can look into other options. The thing is, since we did prep early and we went and got checked, that's when she found out, oh wait, this tube is closed. And also it's because, like she said, she already had an ovary removed, so she already had a little bit of a
problem.
wasn't sure about this already. So she's like, okay, I have this little, doubt that everything's gonna go well. So let me go get checked first.
Mm-hmm.
So just like I said, a little nugget of information. Please go get checked. Just for your own peace of mind, that everybody's good, your count's good, the woman's good, everything okay. Go. Normally, again, this is more something you would check at the later stages. If you're really young, the chances are that everything's perfect with you and nothing's fine. The probability is lower. As you get older, like us, when she got pregnant, she was 34.
Yeah.
So we're already getting close to mid 30s. Okay, it's not like she was 20 or 21 or 22, which is pretty young. At that age, she probably won't have any issues. She would have had both ovaries if we would have tried at 23. Okay, so that's that. But anyway, so that about wraps it up again for today. Again, part 2, we're gonna be talking about next Wednesday, and that's gonna be covering postpartum depression, and that's gonna be covering our birth story. I know my wife really wants to talk about that postpartum depression. She feels like a lot of the lady listeners out there, women, this is going to be really beneficial for you guys. So that's going to be extremely interesting for you guys, and it's going to be a cool one for you guys to look for next Wednesday. Again, we're going to be talking about birth story and postpartum depression. Okay, we really want to thank you guys for listening to us today. I hope we didn't bore you. I think it was fun for us. It was really good for us to take this and just release it out, right? Sometimes for this podcast has been great for us to just express and just, take away things that we have in our chest that's make us feel better, and release all that tension that we have. I really hope you guys enjoy this. It was fun for us.
And also, if you have, if you're going through this situation, or if you know somebody that is going through this situation and you just want to let us know, or if you think that there's some,
maybe you have any ideas that about stuff they want to let us know, maybe
exactly, if you want to know something specifically and you would just want to ask us, you can use our Instagram to let us know, hey, we are going through this situation, what was your experience, and we can explain that in a podcast. Or
also you can send us we have the email honeylet'sdoapodcast@gmail.com. We're also going to put it, if you're watching this on YouTube, I'm going to put that up I'm going to put it up in the video right now, at honeylet'sdoapodcast. That's our Gmail, honeylet'sdoapodcast@gmail.com. And our Instagram is at honeylet'sdoapodcast.
exactly.
So any of those two, you can reach us out. Maybe you have any recommendations, or you, like you said, you want to let us know a question about today's episode, or about, questions to Linda.
Or if there was something that you took that you found very, very helpful for you in this podcast, just let us know, because that, for us, especially for me, it is very important to see that I'm helping somebody else. And if is that you, if you want to let me know, that will make me very happy, because that means that by doing this podcast, I'm helping others, and that's what it's all about.
So yeah, and again, thank you guys all for listening today. Hope you have, you had an amazing time with us and listening to us. We'll see you next Wednesday. Have a blessed day, guys. See ya.